A very warm welcome to the Made in China podcast. Today we have a connection I think we had before a couple of times already. It's the connection Shanghai-Berlin, and I guess Damian is very happy about it because Damian is also a Berlin and Shanghai guy. We are now sitting in his office in Shanghai, and Dominique Massonié is sitting in the NIO house at the Kurfürstendamm in Berlin. Dominique, a very warm welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite. I'm very happy to be here with you today and looking forward to the great discussion with you about NIO and NOMI. Right?
Perfect. Cool. Thank you so much for being here. I must say I'm a great NIO fan. I myself drive a NIO ES8 here in China, and the battery is coming out of the car like it's very, very fast. So I always show it to my friends to show how fast we are here in the automotive industry. So yeah, I love the brand. I know it. So happy to talk to you. And you've been pioneering, voice technology in automotive for nearly 20 years. What initially drew you to this field, and how has this the industry's approach to in-car AI evolved?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. That's indeed a long story. So it first started at the end of my university time. So I did a PhD in research for human interaction, and namely voice and dialogue interaction. So it was really the early days at the time. It was before Siri, before the telephony leverage voice interaction, right? So the R&D topic at the time was reserved for telephony, like directory assistance and yellow pages. So like people would call a voice assistant to get the phone number from somebody else to call. So nobody remembers those days, but this was the R&D state of the art 20 years ago. And then it went into more... consumer electronics and the car. And in fact, the car were pioneering the voice interaction for various reasons. So first, it's a nice ecosystem. So you are sitting in the car. The enabler for voice interaction was in fact hand-free telephony. So it started with putting a microphone in the car. So for hand-free telephony. And when you have hand-free telephony, you can leverage the microphone to add voice interaction, right? So in fact, the voice interaction is a kind of secondary effect of the hand-free telephony. And the motivation, obviously, from hand-free telephony at the time was safety, right? With safety first. You remember like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, people driving around with the mobile phone in the hand. It was disaster for the safety on the road. So it was also the main driver to enable hand-free interaction with the car, and the first use case were to minimize the driver distraction and to avoid unsafe situation, right? So the navigation also was a big topic with voice destination entry. So basically I moved to Germany to do the voice interaction for application like aftermarket device or cars. Also back then the power of the computer was very low. So I remember the first system we put in the car, because it's also all embedded, or especially at the time it was before the car connectivity, right? So the platform was like a 200 megahertz ARM processor. You had 32 megabytes of RAM for everything. Like you unload you boot up the system, 16 MB, so half of the RAM is gone, and you need to put the complete HMI and voice interaction into the remaining 16 megabytes, right? So when you have a dialogue system, you have this ping-pong effect with speech in, speech out, speech in, speech out. The complete system was not even fitting in the RAM we had. So we need to unload and reload depending on the dialogue turn, the input and the output. So it was very, very handcrafted technology at the time to make everything fit into the platform and the physical constraint we had. So nowadays, it's a completely different story. The embedded platform are much stronger. We have cloud connectivity, so we could leverage now more resource in the cloud and connectivity also with services. So it's a long journey, but there is also a lot of things to improve ahead, and I think we will touch those topics later on.
Yeah, crazy. So you are a real pioneer, and there's this old saying like a long journey always starts with the first step, and you were lucky and wise enough to start with the first step, and now you are one of the experts that is very in demand in these days when it comes to AI and all other technologies. And you moved from France to Germany to work for a Chinese car brand. This is a very international, very interesting story, and I would be interested, what were the challenges for you in a cultural and professional context that you had to deal with?
Yes. So that's also an interesting story. So from a family perspective, already in southern France, where I grew up, I took German as a foreign language. I knew German before moving to Germany, right? And with an Erasmus program, I spent one year in Fulda. So I have a doppel diploma. So from the university in Fulda and the Avignon University in France. So I would not say the language was a barrier or a challenge for me. What's interesting for me was that the automotive domain, as I mentioned, was pioneering the voice interaction. So after the PhD in dialogue system, at the time, as I said, there was no telephony, consumer electronics demand. So really the perspective and the first user was the car industry. So, and obviously, if you want to work for innovation in the automotive industry, especially at the time, you go to Germany, right? So I moved to Nuremberg, and I spent all the time at the tier 1 or tier 2 level, and working for most OEMs and also for global projects. So yeah, so I spent also times in the US, so working really globally with also a supplier in India and OEM. So I had a great touch with different system and different cars. So mostly I collected the experience in the global automotive HMI ecosystem before joining NIO. So in summer 22, I moved to NIO to be the owner of NOMI, so the voice assistant, the smart companion for NIO cars. And for me, it was really an highlight because NOMI is a very important aspect of the brand and the car. So it's physically present in the car, and you have way more possibility to interact because you have this facial interaction, those emojis, and the position in the car is also leveraged. So let's say the basic components and enablers to make a great voice interaction were pretty unique in the value proposition from NIO. So it was very important or very nice for me to move in that position. I'm very glad I got the chance to do that. And now I've been doing this the last almost 3 years, right?
Fantastic. Yeah, and for everyone who does not know, NIO, basically, right, the NOMI is this little guy sitting in the middle of the car in the cockpit that you can talk to. Like say, hey, NOMI, right? And then it will say, hey, what can I do for you? And then you can ask tons of different stuff. So how does the approach that NIO has now chosen fundamentally differ from more traditional automotive companies like maybe our German car industry?
I think there are two aspects. So first, the first one I mentioned, like NOMI is physically present in the car. So you have these, that's a very also beyond technology, that's also a kind of psychological effect with the presence in the car. Is also with AI, people are always challenging. AI-based communication is kind of anthropomorphism, right? So and the personalization of the voice assistant and how people will perceive that. And interestingly, from NIO side, I mean, it's the goal. Like we want to have this emotion. So NOMI is a smart companion, is an emotional companion. We want to have this kind of anthropomorphism. So it's given by design, right? And the human communication, so the way humans interact each other, it's pretty unique. So there is no other fancy animal. So you can other mammals like the dolphins, and so you can imagine. But the way humans are interacting together is pretty unique, right? And now we replace one of the counterpart with a machine. And it's obviously a kind of anthropomorphism kind of things, right? Because only humans are able to speak. So if you talk to a machine, from your perspective, you will think there is a certain bias. Even if you know it's a machine, you will interact like a human. And then the goal is to make it as smooth and as smart and as transparent enough so that it's not awkward or strange that you are talking to a machine. So we try to hide the fact that the car is not or is a simple machine, right? So and we need to also evolve in this constraint. Like it's not a real human. There are some limitations, and especially in the car, as I mentioned also earlier, you have those safety concerns. You also need to minimize distraction, right? So everything is what we are cooking to make also the user experience as good as possible and as simple as possible using the voice interaction. Right?
And I read that the goal is to make NOMI, to design it that it is more than just a voice assistant. What does it mean for me as a user, for Damian as a driver from NIO? What can it do more than just assisting you with the voice?
Yes, so as you know, especially in the car, there are many features, right? And you can interact with the car through the screen, but you have also other things to do in the car. So avoiding distraction, I mentioned, but also with an HMI, you have lots of apps, different menus, and you need to fiddle somehow with the HMI to find the right functionality. With NOMI, it's a kind of shortcut, right? And also you don't need to learn or to be familiar with the HMI. If you want to flap the side mirror to fold them, so you just say, because you want to park or I don't know, it's narrow place, say, hi NOMI, please fold the side mirror, and she will do it. And I myself, I don't even know where it is in the car. If I would like to click somewhere, I don't know where it is. So this is the first level of simplification, because now in a natural way, you don't need to be an expert, you don't need to know, but just try it. And it goes to the point like either NOMI is able to do it, so to translate this intent into an action, or she will also try to help you. So she could open the car manual or try to figure out, right? And also on the other end, if we see that some queries are not understood, we monitor what's happening when something goes wrong, and then we can figure out, people are requesting some or asking some question, then we should support this. So, for example, people were asking, what's the time? So we at the beginning, we didn't support or answering that question, because for us it was, let's say, obvious. The time is on the screen, right? So who would ask the time if the time is on the screen? But people keep asking this. So now NOMI just answer that question. So it's more natural and familiar and helping as much. So it could be small things, it could be more fancy things, like even like opening the window, right? You think, there is a button to open the window, I don't need that, right? But if you say open the window, it's your seat, it's your window, but you could say open the co-driver window by 25% or by 10%. And suddenly you have more powerful control over the things you want to keep as well, and more flexibility. So it's simpler, it's let's say more powerful, and it's for everybody in the car as well. So people at the rear, they can also interact with the car to a certain extent. There are some limitations, so someone at the rear cannot activate the seat heating from the driver or open the window from the driver. So, but you can consider that at the rear, in general, the people, they are not using the HMI from the car. They, especially in NIO car, they have some convenient features like seat heating, seat massage. And through NOMI from the rear, you can select the catwalk or the rolling mode or whatever you want to do with your seat configuration, right? So it's really easy, and you could be a kid, you could be an elderly, you could be anybody. NOMI is also able to interact with you, so it's very transparent. Sometimes there is a barrier with the touch, or people are not familiar. Now we have experience or feedback from people who are not using fancy technology in general. They are easily interacting with the car and NOMI, right?
Damian, we need a quick ad break.
For what?
Now, by now, most people in the West have realized that innovation happens here in Asia, right? So whether it's your industry, e-commerce, whether it's automotive or AI, but the problem is they hear about it way too late. So I created Asia Bits. It's a daily newsletter that lets you grasp Asia's big moves in under 5 minutes every day.
Sounds great. Where do I find it?
So you know how to find it, but for everyone who doesn't know, I will tell you, just sign up at our website. It's asiabits.com. Very easy to remember. The newsletter lands in your inbox Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. CET. And while you are still brewing your first coffee, we've already been working for 6 hours. With Asia Bits, you'll be the smartest person in the room, knowing today what others won't Google for another 2 weeks. We already have thousands of subscribers, including some very high-level German diplomats.
Well, then let's go. asiabits.com, pick your language, and you're in. Yeah, and implementing this technology and NOMI, the whole system in Europe and other markets, or especially Europe now. What was the most surprising challenge implementing that systems? You know, you've got different languages, different regulations, and different user experiences.
Yeah, so there are lots. In fact, there are lots of difference or small difference, maybe sometimes. But indeed, if we sum everything together, it was keep us busy right here in Europe. So the major or the primary difference is obviously the infrastructure and the market is different. So for example, we can drive faster in Europe and especially in Germany, right? So under those conditions, higher speed, you have more noise. For example, for the voice assistant, it plays a role. Also, we have paved streets, so especially in Berlin, so in the area where we are located now, we have stone paved streets. So for the microphone, so the noise environment might be also different. So the ecosystem where the car is running is also not, the infrastructure are different, let's say. You mentioned it, so more languages. In Europe, we have like 40 languages, or I mean, depending on what you break down, but we have lots of language, and they have all their characteristic and their own challenge, right? So that's obviously we take on the EU side, or so we need to improve that for the EU market. And there are small aspects you don't expect, like it's a surprise, like for example, time zone management. In Europe, obviously, if you drive across 1,000 kilometers to the east, you will cross at certain point the time zone, right? In China, funnily enough, they have only one time zone, right? So it's a huge country, but they never need to handle or manage the time zone. So that's a special use case for Europe to be able to manage the time zone. The destination entry, talking about navigation, for example, the house number, obviously in Europe is very important when you want to enter an address. In China, they don't use the house numbers. So the extent is from very small details to pretty big impactful features, like the noise environment is different. And also there are also different aspects, like the connectivity in China is way better. So if you want to, because we mentioned earlier the AI and leveraging the cloud and the connectivity. So in China, they have a better global infrastructure, so 5G and coverage. So they have in general faster and more powerful cloud services. The ecosystem is also broader. So in Europe, we need to adapt to our ecosystem, so maybe sometimes different technologies. Obviously, the cloud backend and everything is located in Europe, so that's part also of the localization. But all in all, there are lots of differences, in fact. Mm-hmm.
As I'm not driving a car by myself right now, I think I was really surprised by the function that you can say open the window by 25%, and it's great. I just took a taxi today, and today in Shanghai it was a day which is a little bit hot already if you don't open the window and the AC, and it's cold if you open the window 100%. So I was trying and playing to get the right size of the airflow I needed, and it was a huge challenge for me. So this is a great function, and I am curious, what can we expect in the next 5 years of functions of voice assistants that a normal user like me wouldn't think of today?
Yeah, so the window example, let's continue on that basis, right? So the user can precisely control the actions, but also the car can also interact. So if you say bluntly open the window, basically the car will fully open the window, right? But under certain circumstances, it's not very smart to do so, right? So you are the driver, you say open the window, you need some fresh air, but you do not realize you are driving high speed on the motorway. And then NOMI will say, oh, by the way, you are driving faster than 120, or I don't know exactly the limit, but she will say, okay, because you are driving so fast, I will not fully open the window, I will do it like 20% or something like this. And this is where we are also going to. It's the better interaction with the car and the ecosystem. So you see more and more also smartness and AI for autonomous driving. So the car improves the environment model and everything. So for example, you look at the instrument cluster from a NOMI car, for a NIO car, and then you will see in fact the traffic. So you see the red lights, you see the pedestrian, you see the bicycle, you see the car parked along the road. So all this information is available in the car. It's not much used in the brain of the voice assistant, right? So we will have more and more interaction based on the awareness from the system. So the system will get smarter about where you are going, but what's happening or what's surrounding the car at this stage. And this goes also well together with the fact that you should be less and less busy driving in the future, right? So the autonomous driving performance or the condition enabling hands-free driving is also increasing. So the challenge at the beginning or the motivation for voice interaction at the beginning was to enable hands-free. But now we will have hands-free, not due to the voice interaction, but we will have more and more hands-free because you don't need to drive at all, right? But then the motivation to interact per voice is that it's enabling higher level interaction, so smarter interaction, and like a conversational speech, right? And in the future, the system will be stronger to enable you also connection with the environment of the car, but the environment you have at home or the ecosystem, your friends, and the system of system will be better integrated as well. And using voice, it's like talking to a human. You are not fiddling with an HMI or everything. At some point, it's impossible, right? You cannot have one phone, one thing, or I don't know. You speak to the assistant, and he will do it for you, right? That's I think that's what will be improved from use case perspective. And then for Europe, especially, what will be improved is the multilingual support. So we talked already about the number of languages. So if you take my concrete example, I'm talking with a French accent, obviously, driving mostly German in Germany, right? So my family is also mixed. So we are in the car, we can speak French, English, German, depending on the destination. It's another country, right? So we are facing lots of multilingual scenario in Europe, and the technology will be improved. So we see that already on the voice output side. So now you see the speech synthesis. They can take the voice from somebody, and this voice is able to speak all the language. So we could take your voice and then adapt the system so your voice could speak all the human language, so to say. So we could synthesize using your voice characteristic, you talking in all the language, right? And on the voice input side, it's not there yet, right? So if I mixed with my accent, I speak German, a location in the Czech Republic or something like this, it's a borderline with the technology. So that will also improve in the future.
Wow. I mean, next to NOMI, another key differentiator is also the battery swap technology of NIO. And how does software integration support or enhance this hardware feature?
Yeah. So that's exactly a kind of use case. As an example I was mentioning, with better integration with the car, the ecosystem, the functionality, and to make everything like easy. Like, so the smart companion, so NOMI, for instance, here, leverage something we call the smart routing. So when you enter a destination, you need to plan the journey somehow. So where you need to stop, if you better swap, these kind of things, right? So NOMI also helps you interact or validate or adapt the smart routing. So you have different options. So depending on your route, you will be able to swap. You can then add or remove waypoints. You can select the charging operator also with NOMI. So NOMI knows the name of the most relevant charging point operator. So you can say, I want only to charge by Shell, by, I don't know, so different. I should name a few as an example, but those names are known. So you can select also based on your habits or based on your payment method. And that's more transparent, as I mentioned again. Otherwise, you need to click everywhere. Now you can ask NOMI, please find me the next Shell fast charging station on my way, right? And she will do it.
Yeah, so and battery is a big topic and a big part of the car. And if we got the number right, NIO has more than 1,650 patents in battery technology, which is very, very very interesting and a huge number. And how is this part of your IP strategy, and how can you be so innovative? Because we know a lot, we have also been to Huawei, a lot of Chinese technology companies nowadays, they put a lot of funds and allocate it to research and development. Is it also the same at NIO?
NIO, as a premium car manufacturer, needs to be state-of-the-art or push also always the limit, right? And in electric vehicle, obviously, one of the key factors is the battery. So NIO is investing this domain, and because you mentioned the number of patents, right? So the motivation of patent is first to do certain protection, so you protect yourself. But also what's interesting with NIO is that their strategy is also to share, because they want also to grow this ecosystem, that the swapping technology is compatible with other brands and everything. So we are not too much onto blocking or also defending the innovation in a way like we would be disconnected from the other stakeholders. We push the innovation in a way that we want to share and grow the technology as a whole, also to make the world better, right? So the blue sky coming and the vision from William Li is also to make the world better, right? And this is what we do as a vision and mission inside the organization. So, and pushing the battery technology fulfill this goal, right? The other aspect when you patent something is you patent an invention, right? And innovation is the step beyond, like you get some market success based on this invention. And you could patent and invent something is never used, so nobody cares, right? So what's very important also for NIO and the innovation at NIO is we want to improve the global ecosystem I mentioned, but also we want to make the life from the user easier. And NOMI is then also the aspect complementing the battery and the vision part. So we need to make this innovation also accessible to most people, right? And the user as a driver brings also foster the innovation, because the expectation from the user keeps growing, and also the competition or the competitors are not sleeping, right? So all in all, we do it because it's our motivation, and it's also now, especially in China, it's also a competition, right? So all in all, those aspects keep us running, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And what would you say is one of your most valuable lessons, maybe, about bringing new technologies to, we would say, more conservative industries like automotive?
Yeah, so I think the evolution of the automotive industry is people see or expect a big bang, right? It's more step by step. In fact, if you look into the detail over the years, it's a lot of small steps. And especially at NIO, so now talking more about a software-defined vehicle and the way to improve the system also down the road with software over-the-air update. So that we didn't touch much, but it's a strong enabler with the connectivity to be able to keep your system up to date, adding more and more features, so increasing the value for the user. So all those things, in fact, at some point, you do not notice. You take those improvements for granted. And the surprise would be that if you sit in the car, the same NIO car, but 2 years ago, you would be shocked, right, by the kind of improvement we did on the software side the last 2 years. But you didn't notice, in fact. So improvements are sometimes things you don't even notice. And you would only be able to see the difference if you look way back in the rear mirror, right? Yeah, so the purpose for us is also to keep the user in the loop. So certain evolution and prioritization are also based on the user feedback, right?
You are French and living in Germany, working for a Chinese company. So you have to do a lot of communication with different cultures and different languages. What is your most effective strategy to enhance this collaboration and communication across borders and across cultures also?
Yeah. So that's indeed that's a challenge. So first there is the technology aspect. So if you are the merit works, all right. So if you are good at what you are doing, you earn some respect, and you can collaborate as a high standard. From the technical standpoint. But it's not enough, obviously. You also need to have those social aspect and relationship. It makes also everything easier, right? So I visited our colleagues in China a couple of times already, so in Shanghai and Beijing, for example, and you need this interpersonal relation. And one of the keywords would be hotpot, right? And sharing this conviviality with everybody. So if you know the people, obviously, it helps also not only for technical aspect, but then to smooth the everything from the organization standpoint, right? So it's not like it's a surprise. At least for me, it was a surprise. The Chinese culture is quite close to the French culture. So I would not say that between, let's say as a French, the cultural shock with Germany is not very high. But in fact, the cultural shock with China is also lower than what people would expect, right? So from a cuisine perspective, the French cuisine is kind of closer to the Chinese cuisine than the German cuisine, for example. So this kind of thing. So I'm very happy having fun with the colleagues at Hotpot or different restaurant. I enjoy there the food and we have a great time. And the problem are beside job, it's everybody is talking about kids, growing family, and we all have the same life. So it helps. Then you are working with friends, even if they are far away. Once you get this kind of relation, it makes things obviously easier.
Yeah, fantastic. We also have great French cuisine here in Shanghai, I can tell you. I'm sure you know. And for tech leaders aiming to globalize software products, like what you've done with NOMI now, what is your top piece of advice based on your experience?
So you need to move at Chinese pace, right? So first you need to focus on the right things and be good at the execution for the right things. And focusing on the right things means also that you avoid to do the wrong things. So you avoid wasting time or wasting energy, right? So if you manage to be good in those two dimensions, you can bring innovation faster than the competition or fulfill the user expectation faster. So you focus on the right thing, you are good at execution, and you avoid doing useless things or things that are not, let's say, relevant. And that's very important because otherwise you are not fast enough. So obviously you need to be good, but you need to do it well and quick. So that's the challenge talking to Chinese stakeholders. So in Europe, otherwise you have the SOPs in 3 years, and you have 1 year to discuss, and so I don't. So here in China is straight to the point, right?
Yeah, and we're happy that China speed already reached Berlin and Europe, and this were 35 minutes full of new learnings and interesting insights for me. Thank you so much, Dominique, and many greetings to Berlin, where there are also a couple of very good hotpot restaurants opened a couple of years ago. So we hope you enjoy your hotpot in Berlin, and once again, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you very much. 谢谢。
Perfect. Thank you, Dominique.